Best-selling author, host of the hugely popular O'Reilly Factor, and now host of the No Spin Zone, Bill O'Reilly, once received a letter from the late President George H.W. Bush regarding bias in the media. Now, the elder Bush at the time confided in O'Reilly, disheartened by the way the press was treating his son. Of course, as you just saw, President George W. Bush. Bill O'Reilly also has a new book out called Killing the SS, The Hunt for the Worst War Criminals in History. Earlier, we talked about his newest book, The Economy, The Caravan, and about a possible media approach, a possible media bias in covering the death of President Bush. Last 4 days have of course, been filled with descriptions of the legacy of President Bush. A number of former presidents have passed away during your time spent in the media. You've been in the game for a while. But your thoughts on the role of the press eulogizing a former president while the public and the current administration look on?
Well, I've been here 45 years practicing journalism. I think it's a good thing that Americans saw the country come together in Washington and honor a patriot, and there's no doubt he is a patriot, for his life accomplishments, including being president. I thought that was a positive all day long. The negatives come on the snide comparisons between Bush and Trump that the hateful commentators inject. Joy Behar being the worst that happened earlier this week. I don't know, Disney's got a big problem with The View, a big, big problem with it. But I thought the ceremony on Wednesday was a big plus for the country. So it goes worldwide. And it shows people that we can unite around a great man like George H.W. Bush.
Well, when I introduced you to the show a moment ago, I used the term a newsman as part of who Bill O'Reilly is and who you have been for decades now. But I'm interested if that term, newsman, still sits well with you, or do you bristle a little bit when you hear that based on the news industry these days?
Well, I lament the corruption of the American news industry and media in general. That includes Hollywood and the entertainment programs. I lament that. When I started at the Fox News Channel 22 years ago, it was bad. They didn't want us competing with them, CNN and NBC, but nothing like now, where you have very well-funded political action committees like Move On and Color of Change and all these people. They have tens of millions of dollars to go out and destroy people like me.
Right.
And to boycott sponsors and to hurt you. That didn't happen. But the media has bought into it, enables it instead of attacking it. And so we're living in a civil war in America, a social civil war, and everybody should know it.
Well, and I want to get to a couple of policy issues and get your take on that in just a second. But when CNN filed that lawsuit against members of the Trump administration after Jim Acosta was, kicked out of the White House, essentially, One American News filed an amicus brief in support of the White House. And to my knowledge, we were the only ones to do so, including your former home, Fox News. So tell our viewers where you stand on this. Is Fox missing something when it comes to this particular situation with what happened to Jim Acosta?
It's a complicated situation, Patrick, and I'll lay it out for you as briefly as I can. I said that Acosta was totally out of line and not trying to get information, but trying to diminish a sitting president of the United States. Therefore, if I were president, I would have revoked his credential. That's how I said that on day one.
Yes.
I know Acosta. I know what he's being ordered to do by CNN. He's not trying to cover the news. He's not trying to get information. He's trying to provoke. And it's absurd. This isn't a caravan. Of course, the caravan was an invasion. This wasn't an invasion, was what Acosta said. Of course it was. All right. There's no other term that applies. So I supported the revocation of his credentials, but just him and not CNN as a news organization. Fox News has changed management, as everybody knows. All right. They are a very strong brand. They remain a very strong brand that grosses more than $3 billion a year. I mean, there's a lot of money to be made. 95% of those who watch Fox vote Republican. 90% of those who watch CNN and MSNBC vote Democrat. So the money is now made off Trump, whether you love him or you hate him. That's where the money is. So Fox News knows that. But they also know that there's a movement to boycott every sponsor on FNC. That movement is led by these PACs, all right? These George Soros-funded PACs. Fox does not want to be boycotted, obviously. And it wants the help of the mainstream media to prevent those boycotts from happening. So I'm not going to say that it was tied in. It's a quid pro quo.
Right. But
people need to know the big picture. Massive amount of money on the line here. And that's why I think some decisions are made.
All right. Well, you tweeted this morning that the key to President Trump's reelection is a strong economy, and without that, his base doesn't grow enough by 2020. I want to get your take on something. The actions of the Federal Reserve, the rate hikes, the timing of these rate hikes. You're a history guy. President Andrew Jackson bucked the system centuries ago by not renewing the second bank of the U.S. No president has messed around with that since. Should the president, or can the president, take the Fed on a little harder? He's been very critical of Jerome Powell. If it's all about the economy come 2020, what do you feel he should do?
I think the president has a right to make his feeling on the economy known. So if he thinks the Fed is raising interest rates unnecessarily, certainly as the leader of this country, the president has a right to say that. I don't think he should threaten the Fed. I don't think he should take it any further than this is my opinion, and here's Larry Kudlow, and he backs me up, or whatever economic guy he wants to use. But there is no doubt that President Trump will not be reelected if the economy is in the decline. And Wall Street is a very important part of the American economy. So the president has to keep his eye on the stock market.
Right.
And the street wants stability, not chaos. Very important for the president to understand that.
Well, the markets are closed today, of course, as the nation remembers President Bush. It has been down at times. What role is the media playing in it? Since the president met with Xi Jinping, of course, the 90-day truce is underway. All in all, the president seems to be living up to what he's been aiming at. Is the media playing a role in these markets? Are they freaking out the markets right now? Is it fair?
No. I think the markets have discounted the media, as millions of Americans have. I don't think the media has that kind of power. Mm-hmm. The president does, though. So he's got to watch what he tweets. If you're going to say I'm a tariff guy, as Mr. Trump did, that's not going to help the markets.
All right.
Not going to help.
Well, you've said that President Trump is in danger of moderate Republicans focusing more on his personality than his accomplishments, and they may not vote for him next time around. So with the strong economy, as you and I have been discussing, if that continues on these trends, does it matter that we all get along, that he has a good personality, a workable, friendly personality? Are we past the point where politicians and leaders should be expected to act a certain way if the economy is what it is?
No, I think that President Trump has to be true to himself and has to fight back against the unprecedented attacks launched against him. All right. I've been very, very clear on that I do not hold him accountable for all the hate that has enveloped this country. But the reality of the situation, Patrick, is this. Right now, Donald Trump has 42% of the American vote in his pocket. That's his baseline. 42%. He needs 7% more to win. All right? He's got to persuade 7% of the electorate that are not with him now to come and vote for him. He has no meaningful opposition at this point. The Democrats are in disarray, and they're nominating socialists, or socialists are running around like Bernie Sanders. Never going to elect Bernie Sanders. Trump wants that, of course. He wants to have the furthest left person run against him.
Right.
But Donald Trump, for his own good, if he wants to be president again, needs to bring it down as best he can and run on a strong economy. And whatever he can do to strengthen that economy, which means maybe fewer tweets, he should do.
Well, the economy is key. Immigration reform also key. And I know we're moving quickly through this, but I don't have much time. The midterms are over. Would a shutdown now affect the president politically at all?
Not going to happen.
No?
There's not going to be a shutdown. No. These Trump wants the wall. The Congress is going to give him some money to start the wall. All right. They're not going to shut down the government before Christmas. That's just political suicide. It's not going to happen. All right. But next year, I can't predict any political things because all hell is going to break loose. The presidential campaign's already begun. Joe Biden fired the first shot in Montana saying, hey, I'm the best candidate. I should be president. Do you hear that? And Biden is at this point the most powerful Democrat who could run against President Trump.
That was one of my questions. But the president has talked about what he calls judicial activism, and touching back on immigration reform here. Judicial activism, largely referring to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. He says these are anti-Trump judges. What's a bigger issue in your mind? Is it this judicial activism, as the president calls it, or is it the wall? Is it the physical barrier?
Well, for the American people, it's certainly the wall.
Okay.
Because the American people want protection from invasion. All right. So they want a modicum of security. All right. You saw President Trump's poll numbers go up in the Harvard poll last week from 44 to 46 job approval.
Right.
That was the wall. That was the migrant thing. So that to him is a positive. All right. As far as the judicial activism, what President Trump said is true. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal is overturned more than 70% of the time. What are they, idiots? No, they're activists. And the sober courts, and I think you can put the Supreme Court in that category now that there are two new judges, the sober courts know the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals isn't ruling on the law in more than 70% of their cases. That's outrageous. And certainly the President of the United States has the absolute right to inform the people that's happening.
All right. He's making a lot of change as far as the judicial system goes. I do want to mention you've got a 15th bestseller. Hanukkah is here, Christmas on the way. You've got this other bestseller on the shelves here, Killing the SS. In your words, a book about evil. I want to tell our viewers when you made the decision to start this next book in the Killing series, take us back to that moment when you decided it's time for you as the author and us as the reader to sort of delve into the evil of the Third Reich.
Well, this is the 8th Killing book, 17 million copies in print, the most successful nonfiction book series of all time. And I say that with an amazement, like, I did this, Martin Dugard and I did this. It's incredible. All right. Killing the SS opened at #1 everywhere. We're #2 now next to Michelle Obama, which is fine. The book is just selling like crazy. Anybody who likes history, if you're looking for a gift for that person, this is it. Now, I wrote Killing Patton, you may remember, right. An enormous bestseller. We had stuff left over. I put it aside. The last year or two, I started to see the rise of evil in America. The gunmen going into schools and synagogues and churches, mowing people down. I'm going, what is this? The clergy abusing children. This is evil. So I said, Americans, many of us, don't really understand what evil is. My mother certainly did not understand it, never saw it. My father did. He was a World War II vet. He saw evil. Not my mother. So I said, what is the most vivid example of evil in the last 100 years? Third Reich. And who perpetrated the Holocaust? Who murdered babies with their bare hands? The SS. And many of them escaped after World War II. That's why I decided to write the book. It's a thriller because once they got away, then you had to track them down. There's a lot of heroes and villains in the book. And I wanted people to know, essentially, if you see evil, it is your responsibility to confront it. That is the theme of Killing the SS.
Well, the book is Killing the SS, The Hunt for the Worst War Criminals in History. It's already off the charts rating-wise, and the reviews are through the roof as well. Bill O'Reilly, always a pleasure to have a little of your time. I'd wish you good luck on that book, but as we know, it's been out since October, and it's already flying off the shelves. So we appreciate it.
Thank you, Patrick.
All right.
Merry Christmas to all your viewers. And if you want to see those Bush letters, and they're worth reading, just go to BillO'Reilly.com. Thanks for having me in.
All right, thanks. Merry Christmas, Bill.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.